She told her neighbor she'd been abandoned on Christmas Eve, when her boyfriend found out she was pregnant. The next day, he showed up at her door with a letter and roses that would change everything. A 26-year-old elementary school teacher sits on her apartment balcony on Christmas morning, crying while watching families walk by with their shopping bags and holiday joy, when her neighbor, the quiet guy from 3B who she's exchanged maybe 10 words with in the 8 months since he moved, steps onto his own balcony next door. "Are you okay?" he asks. And maybe it's because it's Christmas and she's alone. Or maybe it's because sometimes strangers are easier to talk to than friends. But Emma Rodriguez finds herself telling this near stranger the whole story. How her boyfriend of 3 years, David, proposed to her 2 months ago. How she found out she was pregnant 3 weeks ago and was terrified, but also secretly excited. How she planned to tell him on Christmas Eve over the romantic dinner she'd been planning for weeks. How David's face went white when she showed him the positive pregnancy test. How he said, "I can't do this," and walked out, leaving her alone on Christmas Eve with a ring on her finger and a baby in her belly and a completely shattered heart. How he texted her an hour later saying the engagement was off. He wasn't ready to be a father, and he'd already booked a flight to his parents' house in Miami and wouldn't be back until after New Year's. How she spent Christmas Eve alone, crying and eating the Christmas dinner she'd made for 2, wondering how her life had fallen apart so completely in the span of 3 hours. Her neighbor, whose name is Lucas Mitchell, she learns, listens to the entire story without interrupting. When she finishes, expecting judgment or pity or awkward platitudes, he simply says, "I'm sorry that happened to you. No one deserves to be abandoned like that, especially not on Christmas." Then he goes back inside, and Emma assumes that's the end of it, just a neighbor being polite, letting her vent, probably relieved to escape back to his own holiday. But the next morning, December 26th at 9 a.m., there's a knock on Emma's door. She opens it to find Lucas standing there in jeans and a sweater, holding a bouquet of red roses and a sealed envelope. "I know this is going to seem strange," he says, his dark eyes serious and intense in a way that makes Emma's heart do something unexpected. "But I couldn't stop thinking about what you told me yesterday, about being abandoned, about facing this pregnancy alone, and I—" He stops, takes a breath. "I wrote you a letter. Everything I want to say is in here. But please, don't open it until after I leave. I don't want to watch you read it, because I don't want to influence your reaction. Just read it. Think about it. And if your answer is yes, text me. If your answer is no, we'll pretend this never happened and go back to being polite neighbors who say hi in the hallway." He hands her the roses and the letter, and before Emma can ask what he's talking about, he's gone, back to his apartment, door closed, leaving her standing in her doorway holding flowers and an envelope that suddenly feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. This story has a declaration that Emma reads with shaking hands and tears streaming down her face. A neighbor who reveals he's been half in love with her since the day she helped him carry groceries when his arms were full. A letter that says, "I know this is crazy and fast, and you have every reason to say no, but I've always wanted to be a father, and if you'll let me, I'd like to be there for you and your baby. Not as an obligation, but as a choice, because I think you're extraordinary, and I've been looking for an excuse to talk to you for 8 months. 2 plane tickets to New York City tucked inside the envelope for a week with Lucas and his family over New Year's because you shouldn't spend the holidays alone." Emma's terror and hope and desperate desire to believe this isn't too good to be true. A trip to New York where Lucas's warm, chaotic, loving Puerto Rican family embraces Emma like she's already one of them. Lucas's mother pulling Emma aside to say, "My son has never looked at anyone the way he looks at you." The moment when Emma realizes Lucas means every word, and this isn't charity or pity, but genuine love. And a choice that Emma has to make about whether to let this unexpected man into her life and her baby's life when she's still healing from betrayal. What happens when a stranger offers you everything your ex-boyfriend took away? but you're terrified to trust again? Subscribe now and hit that notification bell, because YouTube only shows the ending of this story to our most engaged viewers. If you're not subscribed, you might miss how this incredible journey ends. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, because we love seeing our global community connect over these stories. Don't miss what happens when Emma opens that letter and reads the words that will change her entire future. Emma Rodriguez had never believed in the saying, "When it rains, it pours," until Christmas Eve 2023, when her entire life fell apart in the span of 3 hours. She'd planned everything perfectly. The apartment was decorated with twinkling lights and a small Christmas tree she'd picked out with David 3 weeks ago. Dinner was cooking, David's favorite, rosemary chicken with roasted vegetables. She'd even splurged on a nice bottle of wine, though she wouldn't be drinking any of it herself for obvious reasons. The pregnancy test was wrapped in festive paper, tucked into a small box with a bow. She'd planned to give it to him after dinner, watch his face light up with surprise and joy, and maybe a little bit of fear because becoming parents was terrifying, but they'd figure it out together. That was the plan. Instead, at 6:47 p.m. on Christmas Eve, David looked at the positive pregnancy test Emma couldn't wait to show him. Her hands were shaking so badly she'd blurted it out the moment he walked through the door, and his face went completely white. "You're pregnant." "Yes. I know we weren't planning this yet, but David, we're engaged. We were going to start trying next year anyway. This is just a little earlier than—" "I can't do this." Emma's voice died in her throat. "What?" "I can't, Emma. I'm not ready. We're not ready. You're 26, I'm 28. We've only, been together 3 years. We're engaged. We were planning a wedding for next fall." "Planning a wedding isn't the same as having a kid. Emma, a baby changes everything. The money, the freedom, David ran his hands through his hair, the same gesture he did when he was stressed at work. "I can't be a father. Not now. Maybe not ever." "I don't know." Emma felt like the floor was tilting. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I need to think. I need time. I can't just make this decision. Right now." "There's no decision to make. I'm pregnant, David. That's not something we can undo just because the timing isn't perfect." "I'm not asking you to undo it. I'm asking for time to think about what this means for us, for our future." David was already backing toward the door, grabbing his coat. "I need to clear my head." "It's Christmas Eve." "I know. I'm sorry. I need to think, Emma. I'll call you tomorrow." But he didn't call her tomorrow. He texted her 47 minutes. Later, while Emma was sitting on the floor of her living room crying next to the uneaten Christmas dinner, the text illuminating her phone screen like a bomb. "I can't do this. I'm sorry. The engagement is off. I booked a flight to Miami to stay with my parents through New Year's. I need space to figure out what I want. Please don't contact me." Emma stared at that text until the words stopped making sense. Then she turned off her phone, ate an entire pint of ice cream for dinner, and cried herself to sleep on the couch at 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Christmas morning, she woke up to her phone full of messages. Her mother, her sister, friends wishing her Merry Christmas, asking about her plans with David. She couldn't answer any of them, couldn't admit that she'd been abandoned, that she was alone, that she was pregnant and terrified and had no idea what to do next. Instead, she made coffee, decaf now, she supposed, put on sweatpants and a hoodie, and went out to her apartment balcony to feel sorry for herself in private. Emma lived in a modest apartment complex in Capitol Hill. Nothing fancy, but decent for a teacher's salary. Her unit had a small balcony that overlooked a busy street, and she'd spent many evenings out here grading papers or reading. Now she sat in one of her cheap plastic chairs, wrapped in a blanket, watching happy families walk by with their shopping bags and their laughter and their complete, unbroken lives. "Are you okay?" Emma jumped, turning to see her neighbor standing on his balcony next door. The guy from 3B. She'd seen him around, helped him carry groceries once when his arms were full, held the door for him a few times, exchanged polite good mornings in the hallway. But they'd never actually had a conversation. He was handsome in a quiet way. Dark hair, kind eyes, probably around 30. Always dressed nicely even on weekends, like he worked somewhere that required good clothes. Emma thought he might be a lawyer or something corporate. "I'm fine," Emma said automatically, wiping her eyes and realizing too late that she was definitely crying and definitely not fine. "You don't look fine." He said it gently, not accusatory. "I'm sorry. That's none of my business. You look upset, and it's Christmas, and I wanted to check." And maybe it was because Emma had been holding it in for 12 hours. Maybe it was because he was a near stranger, and therefore safe to confess to. Maybe it was because she was so tired of pretending. Everything was okay. Whatever the reason, Emma found herself saying, "My boyfriend, my fiancé, left me last night, on Christmas Eve, because I told him I'm pregnant, and he decided he doesn't want to be a father." The neighbor's expression shifted from polite concern to genuine shock. "He left you on Christmas Eve, when you're pregnant?" "Yep," walked out, texted me an hour later that the engagement's off and flew to Miami to his parents' house. So here I am, alone on Christmas, pregnant, abandoned, living the dream. Emma laughed, but it came out bitter. "Sorry. You asked if I was okay and I just unloaded on you. You probably regret asking." "I don't regret asking." The neighbor was quiet for a moment. "I'm sorry that happened to you. No one deserves that, especially not on Christmas." "Thanks." Emma pulled her blanket tighter. "What about you? No family to spend Christmas with?" "My family's in New York. I usually fly out to see them, but my mom's recovering from surgery and didn't want company this year, said she'd rather rest than host. So I'm here." He shrugged. "I don't mind being alone usually, but Christmas alone is different." "Yeah, it really is." They talked for a few more minutes. Surface stuff, nothing deep. His name was Lucas Mitchell. He was an architect, which explained the nice clothes. He'd moved to Seattle 8 months ago for work. He liked the city but missed New York. "I should let you get back to your day," Lucas said eventually. "But, Emma, that's your name, right? I've seen it on your mailbox." "Yeah, Emma Rodriguez." "Emma, for what it's worth, your ex-boyfriend is an idiot. Anyone who walks away from you is making a massive mistake." Emma felt tears sting her eyes again. "You don't even know me." "I know enough. You helped me with my groceries when you didn't have to. You always hold the door even when you're carrying stuff yourself. You smile at people in the elevator. Those things matter. They say a lot about who you are." Lucas gave her a small smile. "Merry Christmas, Emma. I hope your day gets better." Then he went back inside his apartment, and Emma sat on her balcony for another hour thinking about the strange kindness of strangers and how sometimes the smallest gestures, a neighbor asking if you're okay, could make you feel a little less alone. The next morning, December 26th, Emma was still in her pajamas at 9 a.m. when someone knocked on her door. She wasn't expecting anyone. Her mother had offered to come over, but Emma had put her off, not ready to explain about David yet. Her sister was visiting her in-laws. All her friends were busy with their own holiday plans. Emma opened the door and froze. Lucas stood there, dressed in jeans and a dark green sweater, holding a bouquet of red roses in one hand and a sealed envelope in the other. He looked nervous, like actually, genuinely nervous, which was somehow endearing on a man who probably spent his days confidently presenting building designs to wealthy clients. "Hi," Lucas said. "I know this is weird. I know we barely know each other. But I couldn't stop thinking about what you told me yesterday. About being abandoned. About facing pregnancy alone. And He stopped, took a breath. "I wrote you a letter. Everything I want to say is in here. But please, don't open it until after I leave." I don't want to watch you read it because I don't want to influence your reaction with my presence. Just read it. Think about it. If your answer is yes, text me. If your answer is no, we'll pretend this never happened and go back to being polite neighbors. Emma stared at him, completely confused. My answer to what? It's all in the letter. Just please read it. Please think about it. Lucas handed her the roses and the envelope. His hands were shaking slightly. My number's at the bottom. Text me when you've decided. Then he turned and walked back to his own apartment, door closing behind him, before Emma could ask any of the 1,000 questions spinning in her head. She stood in her doorway holding roses and an envelope, her heart pounding for reasons she couldn't explain. Back inside her apartment, Emma set the roses in a vase. They were beautiful, deep red, clearly expensive, the kind of roses you gave someone you were trying to impress. Then she sat on her couch and stared at the envelope. It was thick, cream-colored paper, her name written on the front in neat handwriting. Emma Rodriguez. Nothing else. Her hands were shaking as she opened it. Inside was a letter, 2 pages, handwritten, and 2 airplane tickets. Emma pulled out the letter first, unfolding it with trembling fingers. Dear Emma, I'm writing this at 2 a.m. because I haven't been able to sleep since our conversation yesterday. I keep thinking about what you told me, that you're pregnant and alone and abandoned by someone who should have stood by you. And I keep thinking about something I've never told anyone. My greatest dream in life has always been to be a father. I know that sounds strange coming from a 32-year-old single man with no kids. But it's true. I grew up in a huge Puerto Rican family. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. I have 23 cousins. Family gatherings at my parents' house in Queens involve at least 40 people. I've been surrounded by kids my entire life. I've changed diapers, given bottles, stayed up all night with sick babies, taught kids to ride bikes, helped with homework. And I've loved every second of it. My parents always assumed I'd be the first to have kids. Instead, I'm the only one who's still single. I spent my 20s building my career, and then I spent my early 30s dating women who either didn't want kids or wanted to wait until they were established. I understood. Careers are important. But meanwhile, all my siblings started having babies, and I watched from the sidelines being the fun uncle, but never the father. Last year, when my youngest sister had her 3rd baby, I held my newborn nephew and felt this ache in my chest, this longing for something I didn't have, to be a father, to raise a child, to have that bond. So when you told me yesterday that you're pregnant, and that your ex walked away because he didn't want to be a father, my immediate thought was, how could anyone walk away from that, from the chance to be a parent, from you? Emma, I barely know you. We've had maybe 10 conversations, most of them about mail delivery and building maintenance. But in those 10 conversations, I've learned that you're kind, that you notice people, that you care about small things that most people ignore. And I've been working up the courage to ask you out for 8 months, but I could never figure out how to do it without seeming creepy since we're neighbors. Now I'm going to sound completely insane, but I need to say this. I would like to be there for you and your baby, not out of pity or obligation, not as some kind of charity case, but because I genuinely want to, because becoming a father, helping raise a child, has been my dream for years, and because I think you're extraordinary, Emma. I've thought that since the day you helped me carry groceries and made a joke about my terrible organizational skills and smiled at me in a way that made me forget what I was going to say. I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm not asking you to fall in love with me. I'm not even asking you to date me, though I'd very much like to take you to dinner if you're willing. I'm asking if you'll give me a chance to be in your life, to be there for doctor's appointments and midnight cravings and baby shopping and all of it, to be a father to your child, not biologically, but in every way that matters, to support you through this pregnancy and beyond. I know this is crazy. I know you have every reason to say no. I know I'm a near stranger making an absurd offer that sounds too good to be true. But I promise you, Emma, I mean every word. This isn't a hero complex. This isn't me trying to rescue you. This is me being completely selfish and wanting something I've wanted my entire adult life, to be a father, and hoping that maybe, just maybe, you'll let me try. I've included 2 plane tickets to New York. My family is having their annual New Year's celebration. It's chaos. There will be at least 50 people. It's loud and overwhelming, and probably nothing like what you're used to. But I want you to come, to meet my family, to see who I am when I'm with the people I love, to help you decide if this is something you want. If you're willing to give me a chance, come to New York with me, meet my family, spend New Year's with us. And then, when we get back to Seattle, we'll figure out what this looks like, what we look like. If you're not willing, if this is too much, too fast, too crazy, I understand. We'll go back to being neighbors who say hi in the hallway. No hard feelings, no awkwardness. My number is at the bottom of this page. Text me if your answer is yes. Don't text me if it's no. The silence will be answer enough. Whatever you decide, please know you're not alone. Even if you don't want my help, you have people who care about you. Your baby is lucky to have you as a mother. Yours in hope, Lucas. P.S. The tickets are refundable if you don't want to use them. And please don't feel pressured by the money. I have frequent flyer miles and my sister works for an airline, so these didn't cost me anything. Emma read the letter 3 times, then a 4th. Tears streaming down her face, her hands shaking so hard the paper trembled. This was insane. Completely, utterly insane. Lucas was a neighbor she barely knew. They'd had maybe 10 real conversations. And he was offering to, what? Be a father to her baby? Support her through pregnancy? Take her to meet his family? This had to be a joke, or a scam, or some kind of elaborate scheme that would end with her hurt and disappointed and even more alone than she already was. But the letter didn't read like a joke. It read like genuine, almost desperate honesty. Like someone who'd been carrying this dream for so long that he couldn't help spilling it out to a near stranger who happened to need exactly what he was offering. Emma looked at the plane tickets. First class to JFK, December 30th, returning January 2nd. Names already printed. Emma Rodriguez and Lucas Mitchell. Seats next to each other. He'd done this before asking her. Before knowing if she'd say yes. He'd booked the tickets, written the letter, showed up at her door with roses, and offered her the most insane, most generous, most terrifying proposal she'd ever heard. And Emma, rational, careful, cautious Emma, who planned everything and never made impulsive decisions, pulled out her phone and typed, "This is Emma. My answer is yes. But we need to talk before New York. Can you come over? Now?" The response came within 30 seconds. "I'll be there in 2 minutes." True to his word, exactly 2 minutes later, Lucas knocked on her door. Emma opened it to find him looking nervous and hopeful and terrified all at once. "You said yes," he said. "I said yes to talking. Lucas, this is insane. You barely know me. I barely know you, and you're offering to—" Emma couldn't even finish the sentence. "Why? Give me one good reason why I should trust this. Because I have nothing to gain from lying to you. If this doesn't work out, we go back to being neighbors and my life continues exactly as it was. I'm not asking you for money or sex or anything except a chance to be part of this baby's life." Lucas stepped into her apartment when she gestured him in. "Emma, I know this sounds too good to be true. I know you're probably waiting for the catch, but there isn't one. I want to be a father. You need support. We can help each other. What if I say yes and then change my mind? What if I go to New York with you and meet your family and then decide this isn't what I want?" Then we tried and it didn't work. I'm not going to hold you hostage to a decision you made when you were vulnerable and scared. If at any point you want out, you tell me and we're done. No hard feelings. What if I fall in love with you and you don't feel the same way? Lucas was quiet for a long moment. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Why not? Because I've been half in love with you since the day you helped me with those groceries and made that, joke about my organizational skills. He smiled slightly. I'm not good at hiding my feelings, Emma. Ask any of my siblings. They'll tell you I'm the most transparent person they know. So I'm going to be honest. I like you. I've liked you for months. And if you give me a chance, I think I could very easily fall completely in love with you. But that's not a requirement for this. You don't have to love me back. You don't have to feel anything except willing to let me try. Emma sat down on her couch, her head spinning. This is crazy. It is, Lucas agreed, sitting in the armchair across from her. But crazy doesn't mean wrong. Your family, won't they think it's weird that you're bringing a pregnant woman they've never met to New Year's? My family will be thrilled I'm finally bringing someone home. And when they find out you're pregnant, my mother will probably start planning the baby shower before we even leave. Lucas laughed. Emma, my family is loud and nosy and they're going to ask you a million questions. But they're good people. And they'll love you because He stopped. Because you're worth loving. You barely know me. I know enough. And I want to know more. That's what New York is for, getting to know each other, figuring out if this could work. Emma looked at the plane ticket sitting on her coffee table, looked at Lucas sitting in her apartment on December 26th, offering her the most unexpected gift she'd ever received. Hope. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, I'll come to New York. I'll meet your family. And we'll figure out if this is completely insane or the best decision either of us has ever made. Lucas's smile was radiant. Thank you. You won't regret this, Emma. I promise. 4 days later, Emma found herself on a first-class flight to New York with Lucas beside her, explaining his family dynamics. So my mom is loose. She's going to hug you immediately and probably start speaking Spanish even though you don't speak it. Just smile and nod. My dad is Roberto. He's quieter, but he'll want to show you his workshop where he builds furniture. I have 4 siblings. Maria is the oldest after me. She's 30, married with 3 kids. Then there's Carlos, 28, also married with 2 kids. Then the twins, Sofia and Diego, 25, both single, but Diego has a long-term girlfriend he's probably going to propose to soon. Your family is huge, Emma said faintly. Wait until you meet the cousins, and the aunts and uncles, and the family friends who might as well be family. Lucas grinned. New Year's at my parents' house usually involves about 60 people. It's overwhelming, but it's also amazing. You'll love it, or you'll hate it and want to get back on a plane immediately. Either reaction is valid. Emma's anxiety must have shown on her face because Lucas took her hand, the first time he'd touched her beyond a handshake, and squeezed gently. Hey, if it's too much, we'll leave. We'll go to a hotel, order room service, watch the ball drop on TV. This trip is about you being comfortable, not about impressing my family. I want to meet them. I'm just nervous. They're going to love you. I guarantee it. Lucas was right. The moment Emma walked into the Mitchell house in Queens, a warm, chaotic, beautifully cluttered home that smelled like cooking and sounded like a party, Luz Mitchell swept her into a hug that nearly knocked her over. Lucas, she's beautiful, Luz said in accented English, holding Emma at arm's length to look at her. And so tiny. We need to feed you. Come, come. Everyone wants to meet you. The next hour was a blur of introductions. Maria and her husband and 3 kids. Carlos and his wife and 2 kids. The twins, both talking over each other. Lucas's father, Roberto, who shook Emma's hand solemnly and said, "Welcome to our home." And then the extended family started arriving, aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends, until the house was packed with people speaking rapid Spanish and English, music playing, kids running everywhere, and Emma feeling simultaneously overwhelmed and oddly welcomed. "How are you holding up?" Lucas asked, finding her in the kitchen where she'd retreated for a moment of quiet. "Your family is incredible and terrifying, but mostly incredible." Emma smiled. "Your mom found out I'm pregnant and immediately started planning a baby shower. She asked if I wanted a boy or a girl, and when I said I didn't know yet, she said she'd pray for a healthy baby." "Either way, that sounds like Mom." Lucas leaned against the counter. "Be honest, is this too much? Do you want to leave?" "No, I like it here. It's loud and chaotic, but it feels—" Emma searched for the word. "It feels like family. Real family. The kind I always wanted growing up. We are real family. And if you let us, we'll be your family too." Later that night, after midnight struck and everyone had counted down and hugged and wished each other Happy New Year, Emma found herself on the Mitchell's back porch with Lucas, both of them wrapped in blankets against the January cold. "Thank you for bringing me here," Emma said. It's been the best New Year's I've had in years. Thank you for coming, for giving this a chance." Lucas was quiet for a moment. "Emma, I need to tell you something, and I need you to be honest with me about your answer." Emma's heart started racing. "Okay. I'm falling in love with you. Maybe I already have been for months, but this trip, seeing you with my family, watching you hold my nephew, talking to you for hours on the plane, it's made me certain. I'm in love with you, Emma. And I know that's not part of our agreement. I know you're still healing from David. I know this is complicated, but I needed you to know because I can't keep pretending this is just about the baby. It's about you. I want to be with you. Build a life with you. Raise this baby together, not as co-parents, but as partners, as a couple." Emma felt tears welling up. "Lucas, you don't have to answer now. You don't have to answer at all if you're not ready. But I needed you to know where I stand, that this is real for me, that you're not just someone I'm helping. You're someone I love." Emma looked at this man who'd appeared in her life 3 days ago with roses and a letter and the most insane proposal she'd ever heard. This man who'd brought her to meet his family, who'd held her hand on the plane when she was nervous, who'd made her laugh for the first time since David left, who'd offered her not just support, but genuine love. "I'm scared," Emma admitted. "I'm terrified of trusting again, of believing this is real, of letting myself love you and then losing you." "You won't lose me. I'm not David, Emma. I don't run when things get hard. I stay. I'm asking you to trust me, not blindly, but carefully. Let me prove that I mean what I say. Let me show you that this is real." Emma took a shaky breath. "Okay, yes, let's try this. For real. Not just as friends or co-parents, but as a couple. Let's see where this goes." Lucas's smile was like the sun coming out. He pulled Emma close and kissed her. Soft, gentle, perfect. And Emma felt something click into place. Something that felt like coming home. They flew back to Seattle on January 2nd. Emma moved into Lucas's apartment 2 weeks later because it was bigger and had an extra bedroom for the baby. They went to Emma's first ultrasound together, and Lucas cried when he heard the heartbeat. They painted the nursery together, pale yellow because they didn't know if it was a boy or girl yet. They went to birthing classes and read parenting books and argued about baby names. Emma's ex, David, called in February, said he'd made a mistake, said he wanted her back. Emma told him she was with someone else now, someone who actually wanted to be a father, and hung up. She didn't hear from him again. Lucas proposed in April, at 5 months pregnant, on a walk through Discovery Park. It wasn't elaborate, Just him getting down on one knee on a quiet trail and saying, "Emma Rodriguez, will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you and our baby? Will you marry me?" Emma said yes through happy tears. They got married in June, small ceremony at the courthouse with just close friends and Lucas's family who flew out from New York. Emma was 7 months pregnant and glowing in a simple white dress, and Lucas couldn't stop smiling. "I can't believe this is my life," Emma said at their tiny reception dinner. 6 months ago, I was alone and abandoned and terrified. Now I'm married to my best friend and about to have a baby, and I've never been happier." "Best Christmas Eve conversation I ever had," Lucas said, kissing her. "Best letter I ever wrote. Best decision you ever made, saying yes." Their daughter, Sophia Grace Mitchell, was born in August. Healthy, beautiful, with Lucas's dark hair and Emma's eyes. Lucas cut the cord and cried, and held his daughter like she was made of glass and precious gems. "I'm a father," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I'm actually a father." "Best father in the world," Emma said, watching him with their daughter. "She's so lucky to have you. We're all lucky to have each other." Sophia was 6 months old when Emma found out she was pregnant again. Another surprise, but this time a happy one. Their son, Alexander Roberto Mitchell, was born when Sophia was 15 months old. Then came the twins, Elena and Lucas, Jr., 2 years after that, 4 kids in 5 years. Their apartment became a house in the suburbs. Emma went back to teaching part-time. Lucas started working from home more to help with the kids. Their life became beautiful chaos. Diapers and bottles and sleepless nights and toddler tantrums and homework and soccer practice and family dinners and all of it exactly what Lucas had dreamed of. On their 5th anniversary, sitting on their back porch while all 4 kids slept inside, Emma said, "Do you ever think about how we met? How insane it was that you showed up at my door with that letter." "All the time. Best impulsive decision I ever made." Lucas pulled her close. "Though technically you made the impulsive decision. I just provided the option." "True. I'm the one who said yes to a near stranger offering to be a father to my baby. Best yes I ever received. Best letter I ever read." They sat in comfortable silence. 5 years of marriage and 4 kids and countless memories between them. "Thank you," Emma said quietly, "for seeing me on that balcony, for asking if I was okay, for writing that letter, for giving me everything David took away and so much more, for loving me when I didn't think I deserved to be loved." "You've always deserved to be loved, Emma. I just got lucky enough to be the one who got to do it." Lucas kissed her forehead. "And thank you for saying yes, for trusting me, for building this life with me, for giving me 4 incredible kids and the family I always dreamed of. You've made every dream I ever had come true." From inside the house, they heard crying, probably Sophia, who was 5 now and had nightmares sometimes. Lucas stood to go check on her, and Emma watched him disappear into their house full of children and love and noise and mess and absolute perfection. 5 years ago, she'd been abandoned on Christmas Eve, alone and pregnant and heartbroken. Now she had 4 kids, a husband who adored her, and a family that proved sometimes the worst moments lead to the best beginnings. All because a neighbor asked if she was okay and then did something completely insane that turned out to be exactly right. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. What score would you give this story from 0 to 10? And where are you watching from? We want to hear from every corner of the world. Share this with someone who needs to hear that being abandoned doesn't mean you're not worthy of love. That the worst Christmas Eve can lead to the best New Year. That neighbors who ask, "Are you okay?" are angels in disguise. That letters written at 2 a.m. can change your entire life. That wanting to be a father is one of the most beautiful dreams a man can have. That meeting someone's huge, chaotic family is terrifying and wonderful. That saying yes to insane proposals sometimes leads to perfect marriages, and that 4 kids in 5 years is chaos, but it's the best kind of chaos when you're with the right person. Subscribe if you believe in teachers who deserve better than abandonment, in architects who dream of being fathers, in letters that make you cry and say yes, in Puerto Rican families who adopt strangers immediately, in Christmas Eve disasters that become New Year's miracles, in proposals at 5 months pregnant, and in the idea that sometimes a stranger can become your husband and the father of your children and your whole world in the span of a single letter.